I will show you 7 simple beginner mistakes you are probably making every single day in Illuvium Zero, costing you a ton of fuel. I've played Illuvium Zero for the past 2 years and I've seen every single change ever made to the game. There are even many strategic decisions that caught me off guard recently in the past few weeks, so I know what it means to be making mistakes in Illuvium Zero, and I can help you avoid some of the mistakes that I've made in the past. Even after I show you these 7 tips, I will quickly show you how to set up your Illuvium Zero city for success in the realm of Nexus 6 and Nexus 7, even pushing on to Nexus 8. Before we continue, there's another NFT project that I absolutely love, and you should check it out. Anyone who knows me knows that I love the ETH Lizards and Lizard Labs, but what you might not know is they have evolved far beyond just an NFT project. They are now a gaming DAO that is building infrastructure, handing out alpha, and my personal favorite, allowing any individual to invest into new gaming projects on the ground floor. Jump into their Discord today to learn about the future of crypto gaming, as their token launch is right around the corner. And thanks again to Lizard Labs for sponsoring this video. Now, the first tip I'm going to show you is make sure everything has power. As you can see on a tier 2 plot I have here, I have a lot of converters clumped together. I'll describe a little bit about that soon, but what's important is you leave some space for power plants. Now we can see from the efficiency overlay that a lot of these are on 50% efficiency, so the power plants aren't solving that, but if you forget to leave space for them, it's going to be really hard to keep them powered because they will not passively generate anything unless they constantly have a source of power. You're going to need a lot of level 2 generators pushing onto level 3 generators as you level up these converters. So even though it might seem like a bunch of level 2 generators can handle a bunch of level 1 converters, make sure you have about 1 power plant to every 2 converters to make sure that as you're leveling these things up, you can actually support them in terms of power. Otherwise, you have to reorganize and readjust a lot of things down the road. The other thing is the fuel harvesters. You can see I have a Solon Dredge level 2 right here. And as I go to dredge, I will need 120,000 elements. In this case, it is silicon. When you level up your dredge or your harvesters for fuel from level 1 to level 2, they go from costing 50,000 to 120,000. So you need to make sure your harvesters for elements can keep up with that demand before you upgrade them. In my case, I had to get a level 5 element harvester first, otherwise it stops being able to service this thing particularly well. Now you can get away with a level 4 harvester and several converters as well, but you really need to make sure that it is outputting about the same amount. For example, a level 5 element harvester with 150% efficiency. Whoops. I did not mean to do that. If we hit the little info button here, we can see that it does 67,000 silicon in 1 hour. If I cast it twice, then in 2 hours, I'll have enough for the 4-hour production of the Solon Dredge. But what if you have 2 Solon Dredges? It's really kind of getting close to where it's not quite enough for that. So you'll need at least 1 converter as well. Where it gets a bit tricky is a level 4 harvester for an element site is not doing the best job of servicing a level 2 harvester for a fuel site. So really keep that in mind and try and get your harvesters to level 5 before you get your fuel related harvesters to level 2. And then they can probably even service level 3 as well, but you'll have to remain very, very active on the game. I tend to actually remove a lot of my converters later into the game unless I absolutely have to have it, because harvesters for elements can actually do a really good job as you start to level them up. The number 3 mistake you might make is do not upgrade element harvesters or converters unless absolutely necessary. I cannot stress this enough. They are very expensive to upgrade. For example, harvesters going from level 5 to level 6 actually cost, let me just check, actually cost 270,000 elements, but over 45 fuels, which is a lot. That is 3 to 4 days of constant production from a fuel harvester. It is very expensive to get them there. And so unless you absolutely have to do it to keep your fuel pumping out as much as possible, do not upgrade these buildings. Just constantly monitor them, play the game as much as you can, and focus on getting your fuel output sufficient enough, then upgrading these element buildings makes sense. Do not have that mismatch. You will get into a lot of trouble. The other thing is on most of my lands, I have basically one of each storage. You can see I have one silicon storage, one hydrogen storage, and two carbon storages. But why do I have two carbon storages? You only need enough storage to upgrade your Nexus to the next level. Everything else is irrelevant. I needed that to go from Nexus 6 to Nexus 7 since I needed over 400,000 elements. You only need 400,000 carbon elements with two storages on a tier 2 land. You only need one storage on a tier 3 land, and so don't go overboard. I see a lot of people with their lands in particular have like two of each element storage, sometimes three, and I'm just thinking to myself, why waste so much valuable space on buildings you could be using for either producing elements, fuels, power plants, and efficiency? You simply don't need it. Only build the storages you need to upgrade your Nexus. I cannot stress that enough. That is probably the most important mistake you could make on your land. The other thing is do not bother maxing out Nexus 6. One more time, do not bother maxing out Nexus 6. What I mean by that is if you have Nexus 6, don't get all of your element harvesters and converters and everything to level 6. Don't bother. It doesn't matter. Get your Nexus to level 7 as soon as you possibly can. This is achievable on a tier 3 really quickly and decently achievable on a tier 2 plot as well. I got my tier 2s on there and one of them didn't even have Hyperion, or it only had one Hyperion site. I just converted all of my Solon into Hyperion every chance I get. I didn't spend any of it, and I got to Nexus 7 very, very quickly. And why is that? Is that because Nexus 7 allows 102 structures. Nexus 6 allows 52. This means you can add so many more converters, power plants, harvesters, storages if you really want. You can add so many more buildings on your land that your output will drastically increase like you can't even imagine. So go for Nexus 7 at all costs. This is a lot harder on a tier 1 plot of land. There's a slightly different strategy for that. I'll have a video coming out in the future. So the other thing, and something that not many people really think about when they're going into building their Illuvium land, is you don't actually have to build every single harvester. This goes for fuel and elements, but fuel you should try to build every harvester. Let me give you an example right here with my tier 3. There is an outcrop right in the bottom left corner here, but I have 4 I have 4 carbon harvesters currently built, and I don't need more than that. They are constantly maxed out on my land with how much carbon I actually have in my inventory. So why would I need to build the 5th one? A lot of people will build that just because they can, but in this case, it gives me an entire extra space to build a scanner, since scanners don't want to be near other buildings. But this doesn't count for unbuilt things like outcrops, where this scanner here still has really high efficiency, even though it's built right next to an outcrop that could have a harvester on it. If I built the harvester on there, my efficiency for my scanner would go straight down really, really fast. So the last mistake you should avoid before I talk about a little bit of general strategy here is on this plot, you can see I have the converters stacked close together. This is a very viable strategy on tier 1s and tier 2s. I wouldn't personally use it on a tier 3, but you can definitely get away with it. I'll have more videos about that in the future as well. But there is one thing you need to know. This doesn't work very well when the converters are level 1. So unless you have the resources available to upgrade them to level 2, focus on getting converters to over 120, 130%. But when you get the opportunity to upgrade your converters, like I can do right here, up to level 2, that is when you can start employing this strategy. That is because a converter at level 2 will passively generate 8 Solon every 288 hours, which is, I did not calculate that wrong. Okay, I have no idea, but that is not that many Solon. It's about 1 Solon a day, whereas a level 1 converter is about 4 Solon every 288 hours, which is like 1 Solon every 2 or 3 days, which is not much at all. So they need to be level 2 for this to work. Then when you have enough of them, you can get a really great passive generating farm happening on your land. You can see these two have 1 Solon collected right now. This one has 0. I must have collected it. This one has 2, which is a big difference. You can double it with very small cost. So make sure you're getting enough resources that you can efficiently upgrade your level 1 converters, and then you can start employing this strategy to increase the passive generation of your entire plot of land. Please, this is very important. Now, in the end, every single plot of land is different in Illuvium Zero. But one thing remains consistent. Fuel and element sites give an incredible efficiency bonus to nearby converters. If you maximize this bonus, regardless of the distribution, you will be able to maximize the output of your land beyond everyone else. Let me give you a really good example. If I jump onto my Shard Bluff Labyrinth tier 3 plot, where it's focusing on efficiency, we can see that this converter right here has actually very little power plants affecting it right now, like affecting it highly, and it's at 143%. That's because it's directly next to 2 Solon dredges. The other thing is it's actually really close to another converter, giving it minus 60%, and it's still almost at 150%. So maximizing this plus 30% bonus from fuel harvesters is the best possible way to get your converters to high efficiency. Do not waste this. Converters at high efficiency like this one here, it can convert 20 Krypton and turn it into 21 Solon, meaning you can permanently increase your fuel output if your converters have really high efficiency on them. Again, it can increase your fuel output so much if you maximize this efficiency bonus. I've done the same for my Hyperion. With only one Hyperion site, I've got 2 Hyperion lathes helping get really high efficiency on there. I don't have any Krypton fuel sites, but by separating my 3 Krypton sites, I've done okay with the converters there. You can also see this Solon converter right next to a Solon dredge, giving it a huge edge in the amount of Solon it can output. Again, if I convert Krypton to Solon, I'm getting 21 out of 20, which means you can keep converting back and forth to get whatever you need without loss of resources. Make sure you're using these fuel sites always. So as always, please use my referral code in the profile settings on the Illuvidex. Also, don't forget that it expires in 30 days, so you may need to renew it. The referral code is Scoriox, SCORIOX, Scoriox. Please like the video if you got value and subscribe to see more guides about Illuvium Zero just like this one. You can even watch this beginner's guide to Illuvium Zero right up next.